First, let's talk about our berry area, otherwise known as barria. I've been harvesting some snap peas from the row along the fence here, and I've also been harvesting strawberries from up in the front of the garden. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. I like to pick them right when they start to swell just a little bit. That one's still kind of skinny. I like to wait till they puff up a little bit more, like this one. If you get it just right where this little bend in the stem is, I put my thumbnail right on it and then just pull up, and it comes right off with the stem and leaf intact. And I think it just looks nicer that way. That one's really fat. That's almost fatter than I like for them to be. That's about the size that you want if you're going to actually peel these and take the peas out of the pod, but I like to eat them in the pod. And a fun fact about these snap peas, even though they put them in veggie trays at the store, these are not vegetables. These are actually considered fruits because of the way that they grow off of the plant with the seeds inside of them. So next time you see a veggie tray that has snap peas in it, just know that those are actually fruit, which is why they're in our barria, because they're small edible fruits like berries. Okay, that's it for the snap peas for today, and that's a normal haul. I've been getting 10, 12, something like that a day. Let's go back and check on the strawberries next. I've been getting about the same out of here, about 10 to 15 strawberries a day. But it looks like it might be slowing down a little now. And the ones like this that have a little bit of white on them, but they're mostly turning red, I pick those a little bit early and bring them in the house. And I'll show you a tip that I do to help these finish maturing or ripening. And the reason I do that is because if I leave them in there until they're all the way dark red, the slugs will eat them. Wow, look at this one. Now that's a nice strawberry right there. Whew. And when I look for strawberries, I always move the leaves around because they often hide underneath the canopy. This one's not quite ready yet. That's a little more white than I like to see on it before I bring it in. Now that's okay. Just a little bit of white is okay. That will finish ripening in the house. This one here is a double. And this one is ready to pick. This other one's not. The problem is they're kind of both connected on together. So if I pick this one's going to come off with it. So even though this one's ready, I'm going to wait and pick these tomorrow. So this other one has a chance to finish up ripening. All right, I think that's enough for today. That's about one day's worth. About 10 to 15 strawberries and 10 to 15 snap peas. This currant bush also started maturing. So you can see just a very few little red currants starting to ripen on it. I'll put that in there too. You're getting close. That one's pink. You can see how big and swollen these are. Yeah, I'm happy to start getting some currants. This one's a white currant bush. You can see some of them starting to turn a little pearly white. The blueberries are also producing fruit, and they're getting pretty close to being ready. You see them just starting to turn color. This one's a different variety. It has not yet started to turn color. And this one is the same as the first variety. And you can see it's getting pretty far along. So we should be getting some blueberries pretty soon too. This is our baby asparagus patch. You can see the little sprouts starting to come up. Disregard the mushrooms. Those just popped up overnight from the rain yesterday. But this is our new asparagus patch in here. See, the grapevines are doing fine. These are the new ones that we just planted this year. And here's the other grapevine. As you can see, those are doing pretty well. They've settled in nicely. The thing I'm most excited about right now in this area is the blackberry bushes. They are getting ready to produce like crazy. Let me take you in a little closer, see what's going on here. You see all of those blackberries in there? I mean, I wouldn't even try to estimate how many are in there, but I'm sure it's in the thousands. Now this is just one hedge or one shrub, and we have two. So there's literally thousands of blackberries in each of these hedges that we're going to be able to start harvesting once they get ripe. Oh yeah, and we finally got our cranberries in the mail, and we got those planted, oh, I don't know, a week or two ago, and they seem to be doing just fine in here. There's one, and the other one is right here. So you can see there's a little bit of new growth on the tips. That means that it's already rooting in there, and they're happy where they are. Same thing with this one, it has the new growth on the tips. So we've got our cranberries planted, and hopefully they'll start producing some fruit next year. The other thing that I've noticed coming on in the last week or so are the raspberries on the raspberry hedges. Now we've got the blackberry hedges behind us there, and on the other end here are the raspberry hedges. Now I did have a footpath going through here that's about 4 foot wide, but you can see these raspberries are really kind of growing into the path. Now, it's not a good time to trim them today because they're getting ready to fruit. But in the fall, I'll cut this back and clear this footpath out again for the next year. So let's take a closer look at some of those. And the raspberry bush does have quite a few raspberries going on it. It's not quite as thick as the blackberry bush, but again, I'm guessing that between these two hedges on either side, that we're going to get somewhere in the thousands of blackberries and of raspberries. So you can see these are the ones that I brought in yesterday and laid in the basket to finish curing, and they're pretty well done now. This one's nice and dark red. And this one. Now, off on the side here, I have these other berries. These are the ones that are not so hot. So they've been bug bitten or something, and they don't look great. Now, these are going to also go to probably the rabbits. They might go to the chickens. They enjoy those too. And these ones that are ripe now are going to go in the fridge, and we're going to swap them out for some of these that need to finish ripening. So this one needs to finish. We'll set it up there. And I always try to point the white part towards the sun, because the sun really helps to ripen it. Let's get these other ones out of the way that are done. Oops. And this is kind of where I check them to see if they go into our container or if they go into the animal container. So these ones are all finished ripening. This one didn't quite get there, so I'm going to leave that one in the pile for the animals. And let's get our new ones in here to finish ripening. This one actually looks pretty good. I might eat it right now. Got this one little currant. I'm gonna leave it in here just so that I can let my husband try it when he gets home from work. He says this is a Canadian thing, currants, and that he doesn't know about them because it's a Canadian thing. So I'm gonna let him try this currant. If you're wondering about what currants are, actually, they grow, well, you've seen them outside. They grow in a bundle like grapes, but they're very small, as you can see, and they are somewhat tart, like a red dark grape or even like a cranberry, but they're very tiny, just kind of full of seeds and juice, not much flesh. So I'll just let these sit in here for 24 hours, and I'll check them again tomorrow morning when I get the next harvest from the barrier. Now, if you remember the green stalk video, I planted this full of lettuce seeds in every compartment. But if you look now, there's really only 1 or 2 compartments on this side where things are growing in. And on the other sides, there's really nothing going on. Now, I did turn this about 1/3 of a turn every other day. So it's not that I wasn't turning it for the sun, but I think what happened was we had those couple of really hot 95-degree weather days, and I think that the side that was facing the sun that day got roasted, and so it died. And this is the side that had been in the shade that day, ironically. The shaded side is the only side that survived. Now, I'm not cutting from these because they're getting ready to bolt. It's getting ready to be summer here. But I am going to let them continue to grow so that hopefully I can harvest some seeds from them because they are heirloom variety. I promised you guys an update on this clematis vine when it started doing different things. Well, it's almost done flowering now. You can see a little bit down here at the bottom. The whole bush was covered like this. The whole entire vine was covered with these purple flowers for, a couple of weeks. And now that they're starting to die back, they leave behind these really weird little balls of hairs. And they're super soft. They look like they're spiky and hard, but they're actually really soft little balls of hairs. And it's just kind of cool. I always think it looks really weird when it does that at the end of the flowering season. So it's pretty much the same story with all cold weather stuff around here. With the extreme heat and sun, my lettuce bed over here is kind of done also. Some of it in the middle here is still viable, but around the edges where the sun's just been beating it to death, you can see it's pretty limp and sad and garbage looking. But this stuff in the middle is still okay. I've been taking a little from that still. Cut and come again. Now here we are at our large vegetable garden. On this end we've planted sweet corn, and there are loosely 9 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then on the other side of that, we have some tomato plants. And you can see this one's flowering a little bit. And that one is flowering a little bit. And this one is actually starting to produce fruit already. And we just got these from a friend at the farmer's market, a couple weeks ago. And they've already started producing fruit. So we're pretty excited about that. These little plants next to them are the pepper plants. Some of these are banana peppers, some are bell peppers, and they go on down the road there. And these tomato plants, we have some starts that go on down the road too. So here's some of our little baby tomato starts. And these actually need thinned out a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and do that while I'm here. Now, I know some of you are going to freak out and say, oh, why didn't you dig these up and plant them somewhere else? Well, the thing is, my rabbits like to eat these. So I'm going to take that out to them after we get done in the garden here. So go ahead and thin these out a little bit so that they're kind of spaced apart so they can grow better. And what I like to do is try to find the biggest one if there's a bundle like that. This one right here seems to be the biggest one. And then I'll just pull the rest. Well, that's a lot better. Now we've got some tomato sprouts that have a little more room to breathe. And we've got some treats for the bunnies for when we get done in the garden. The other treat that the bunnies like is this kale. They absolutely love it. I've just been coming in and pinching off the big leaves and giving them to them fresh. So I'm kind of treating this like a cut and come again with the kale. I just pinch a couple leaves off and then come back again later and pinch some more leaves off. And that way the stalk of the plant continues to grow and produce new leaves. Oh, and by the way, if you've been following our videos, I had said that we only had one kind of kale coming in and that the other one that's my favorite variety wasn't. Well, this is my favorite variety coming in now, and it's the blue curled Scotch. And I do share it with the rabbits a little bit, but I eat out of it too. This other one is the Siberian Dwarf, and I don't care for it as much just because the leaves tend to be a little more bristly, like a cat's tongue. So I definitely feed all of this to our rabbits and our chickens. Okay, that's about all I can fit in that bowl for now. Bunnies will greatly appreciate that. Here again, you can see the corn. It's looking absolutely beautiful now. My husband helped me weed it out a little bit. I know there's still a little bit in between the stalks, but these corn stalks are already overtaking that weed, and eventually they're going to be taller than me, and this little grassy stuff isn't going to have a chance. Okay, we also have our carrots growing very nicely. There's two varieties, Danvers and Nanty Scarlet. And right behind that is our first potato bed. I did make a video about this one. It was called the No Dig Potato Bed, and I used all free materials, including the potato starts themselves. And you could probably see it's already flowering. And the two varieties in this bed are Kennebec White and Yukon Gold. We like those two because one is better for frying, the other is better for baking. We have the same two varieties in the second potato bed, the Kennebec White and the Yukon Gold. And we planted this bed about a month after planting that first bed. So even though the first bed looks really big and bushy, the second bed is just now coming up. So you can see some of them are still pushing their way through the hay or straw, trying to come up from underground. Yeah, these ones that came out first are actually getting ready to flower. So this bed's not too far behind. It's about a month behind the other bed, and they should both be ready by the end of summer. Right along the edge here, there's some sprouts just starting to come up. And those are, let's see, we've got about 20 watermelons. And then down on the other end here, there's about 10 pumpkins. These two are squash plants. And these two are cantaloupes. So we're hoping to have quite a few melon type plants over here that can grow off into the grassy area. All right, now let's take a walk down this path out to the fruit tree orchard, and I'll show you what's going on out there. Now, some of you may be wondering about this really tall grass in the middle of this pasture. Did we just forget to mow it? Did we run out of gas? Was the gas too expensive? Hello, $5 a gallon or more? No, actually what we're doing here is a surprise. And I'm going to show you that in another video. So you just have to wait for that one. But this is an intentional hayfield that's growing here. Know that. And on to the fruit trees. First one here is a cherry tree that we planted during that 95-degree scorching heat, which is why some of the leaves are burnt. But then you can see there's a fresh new growth on top of each branch here. So it's making a comeback. It's going to make it. This is a new peach tree, even though we already have one in the front yard. It's kind of old and having issues. So we've got this new peach tree, and there's another one down the road here. This is one of the apricots that we just got. It looks like something's been nibbling on it. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it looks like the leaves have been getting nibbled on. So Not sure what's going on with that, but it's hanging in there. It's still got green growth on it. This is one of our flowering cherry bushes. It's more decorative than anything. This is the Fuji apple tree, which is a combination of a couple different reds. And it has fresh new green growth on the tips there, so it's doing just fine. This is the other peach tree. You can see it's doing well. So from these two, we should get enough peaches that it won't matter what the one out front does or doesn't do. This one is the Golden Delicious apple, and it has a bunch of new growth on top also. Doing really good. And this one is our other flowering cherry bush. This one is actually trying to produce little fruits. And I've just been leaving them on there just out of curiosity. I'm guessing that's going to be like a non-edible berry thing that the birds like. And this is our other apricot. It's got a little bit of a lean to it because it's got so much new growth on top. It's a little top heavy. That being said, I do not believe in propping plants, trees. I don't believe in propping trees up, because what happens is ultimately you make the trunk weaker by having it rely on that additional stability. So I let them just figure it out on their own, which is what I'm doing with this one. This is the cherry tree that Gabby helped plant quite a while back, and you can see it has some fresh new green growth on it. It's doing fine. Now that being said, something is going on with this flowering pear. I'm not sure what, but it doesn't look good. Now a few months ago, this was covered in blossoms. It looked beautiful, alive, healthy, and now it's just kind of crumbly, dry, black. I don't know. So we're just gonna have to keep an eye on that and see what happens. And the last one is the apple tree we planted last year. I believe it's also a Golden Delicious. Well, that's it for the garden updates. Let's go ahead and feed those scraps to the bunnies. Hey, chickens. Chickens. Hey, Mr. Frankie baby. How you doing in there? You're supposed to be in the next video, not this one. This is the garden video. Yeah. Let's go feed these to the bunnies. Hey, little ones. I guess technically you can be in this video as long as you're eating things from the gardens. Good morning. How's it going in there? Some fresh stuff from the garden? There you go.
Know you've been a good friend.
How about some of those tomatoes we pulled?
And I know it's never gonna end.
There you go.
'Cause you've been a good friend.
Like that? Did you get some, little black one? There you go, get you some.